Steven Spielberg's father was a fighter pilot, so was this always a dream for you guys to approach the air side of World War II?
Steven's father was in the Army Air Force, and after he saw Band of Brothers, he said, hey, come on, you got to do the story of these pilots over Europe during the war and fighting the Luftwaffe. So it always kind of rattled around in our brains, and Steven would bring it up half seriously. And eventually we found some stories that we thought were interesting to tell. And Don's book, Masters of the Air, gave us the opportunity to read stories we didn't really know and that we thought might be a good basis for the series.
Was it important that it was sort of the Americans in Europe, sort of based in the UK? Was that part of the attraction to show that particular campaign? Did you look at other versions of this?
We kind of let Don lead us, and the story of the Bloody Hundredth is pretty compelling. And they were a collection of misfits. They obviously were guys who were flying and going into a situation that they knew was not favorable for their survival. So we really thought that it was a good way to base the story, and Major Clevin and Major Egan were great leads for us for it.
Yeah. You mentioned this is a huge undertaking, it's a huge cast, and you've managed again to cast, as you did with Band of Brothers and of Pacific, amazing zeitgeist actors. That you've got a Doctor Who, you've got Elvis, you've got Count Turner, you've got all of these amazing guys. How are you managing to do this every time?
We don't know. We just go and cast it, and that's all with the gods. Things like charisma and the kind of actor that they are when we get them has really nothing to do with their future stardom, but all these guys seem to have the goods.
Yeah, Barry's just been nominated for a BAFTA, so
another
one.
Yeah,
you've got the golden touch.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
When I spoke to Callum, he said that he'd auditioned for both Egan and for Clevin.
Right.
And then you sort of decided he was the better fit, and Austin was the better fit. Tell me why you thought those two guys worked in those two roles.
From the natural position, either one could act anything, but if you just looked at them as people. Callum's a little zanier, He goes a little bit more out on the limb, where, God bless him, Austin is kind of controlled in a normal life, right?
Yeah.
And so he fit, we thought, the bit of John Wayne, silent, strong type a little better for that role, and we thought Callum was better for that role. Now, saying that, you've seen him in Elvis, and obviously he was fantastic. And, Callum fits the bill, we think, for Egan.
Yeah, they're perfect. Tell me about putting them through boot camp. This is something that you've always done. I mean, and Spielberg's done for his Saving Private Ryan. Why was it important to sort of give them that experience to make them perform as a unit?
At this point, these guys were pilots.
Yeah.
So they weren't going to be as dependent on needing a boot camp for infantry training and things like that. But the actors want it. They're all like, when does boot camp start? It's like they all want to be abused, I guess. So they really want to do it. Captain Dale Dye is still willing to get them out there and put them through the paces. So, it's just kind of become part of what we do. But it was not as necessary for the Army Air Force as it was for others. They all go through a certain boot camp. But they wanted to do it, and as I say, Captain Dye was there.
Do you see the difference, though, when you see these guys turn up from when they've been through the boot camp? Do you see that difference, that they're actually working together as one thing?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit. The actors feel that it really is a difference for them, and they feel a camaraderie between each other and that.
Tell me about the gimbal and the volume that you had going on, and how you came to that decision when you were deciding about the aerial sequences and how you would show them that this was the way to do it.
Well, the gimbal for movement in any kind of situation, if you have a boat or something, that these huge devices that are balancing and moving weights around and run by engines are great for that, right? And so we designed ours to be for cockpit movement and fuselage movement and that stuff. So that's kind of been a tradition for movement in Hollywood.
Yeah.
The difference was the volume, which we could put things on the screen that would give the guys a little different thing than just having green screen, right? That they could be in the pilot seat and really feel like they were in the air, really feel like people were attacking them, and see things blowing up around them, so they could react to that. I think for actors, it's really the best. And directors of photography like it because they don't get any spill on like the controls and things like that of blue or green.
Yeah, and you had experts who sort of understood how these planes functioned to help them really fly them, essentially. Was that really important to make sure that it looked exactly like a guy who knew exactly what he was doing in a cockpit?
We love research. We love, consultants. We love people who have really flown these in battle. And so that's what we do. We kind of load up on those kind of people because we don't know all the ins and outs and the nuance of all these duties that you have in these situations. So we bring them in.
Yeah. And did you use a lot of people who were family relatives of the people who you were actually portraying? How involved were the real families?
Well, we use them for research.
Right.
Whatever they know, they usually have memorabilia or stories, from their fathers and or mothers. And, yes, we utilize everything we can to know the most we can about the situations we're portraying.
Now, you told me when I talked to you before that Callum managed to keep the seats from the POW camp office. So what did you keep as a memento?
A jacket, we have these challenge coins, that we love, and, a patch.
You didn't fancy a flight jacket?
Someone actually gave me one, and I love it. It just doesn't fit me great.
Very warm as well, I imagine. And also, finally, why do you think it's important that we still keep telling stories about World War II?
I think history gets further and further away from you. I'm not blaming our younger generation or us for not telling people how important history was, but if you don't show it and understand it, you're probably going to repeat it. And we definitely don't want any repeat of the causes of World War II.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.